football in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert and the Chargers hosting the Vikings in a sort of a big moment for both teams, right? We're going to find out some things about both these teams, and it wound up, J-Mac, being Justin Herbert's show.
Oh, my goodness. Is he not good, Harry Douglas? Wouldn't you want to have a quarterback like that throwing you the rock?
Sure would.
Matt Ryan not taking any offense to that. First play, second quarter, we got Herbert. Look at him taking off and running. Herbert, 7 carries, 62 yards. Chargers in the red zone, and they would run it. Bart, they can do everything, this team. Obviously, Herbert can throw it, and they are rushing the ball down your throat.
You know, you talk about Joe Alt being back was a huge addition, not only in protection, but in the run game.
Chargers take a 14-0 lead. 4 minutes to go in the half. Vikings down 14-3, and we've got trouble. Carson Wentz popped up in the air, knocks it down, and he's hurt. You see, he's in all kinds of pain. He's been playing hurt. Obviously, they're without J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings are a mess in just about every way you can be. A final minute of the first half, and here's where they put it away, Peter. Ladd McConkey in the corner.
McConkey's so good. You mentioned Joe Alt. Everyone being back there is huge for them, and now that Herbert has a second to breathe, he can throw the passes you expect him to throw.
Pitch and catch to McConkey there. They've got the big lead at halftime. Fourth quarter, Chargers up 24-10. It's Herbert again buying time. It's Trey Harris this time. Herbert's third passing touchdown of the night. Chargers extend the lead, 31-10. Look at him moving in the pocket, J-Mac.
He used his legs all night long. And look, Joe Alt is back. Everybody's just happy.
Critical part of the team. I mean, Jim Harbaugh says that those guys are weapons, and that they are. Here's Wentz looking for Justin Jefferson, and not well. That one is picked off. Charger defense, 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and that pick. Chargers go on to win big, 37-10, and the locker room was lit.
Well done, well done. Give each other a high five. I got one question for you. Who could possibly have it better than us? Nobody.
It's just frustrating, just going out there and performing the way we've been performing and not putting up points and not, getting stops. That's all a team effort, and we're just not doing enough.
Rough little 5 days for the Vikings. They had their shot against the defending champs on Sunday, then travel, as Joe will talk about, for a tough game on a Thursday night and lose. What was your number one takeaway, or maybe 1 and 2 takeaways from last night?
Football guys, please just protect Justin Herbert, because he is amazing when he has some time in that pocket. He was awesome last night of making things happen when he had to. On the other side of the ball, question marks about who the quarterback is. J.J. McCarthy. We saw last night from Carson Wentz. He was out there playing with one shoulder. I might have at some point said, hey, y'all go ahead and come get me. I'm going to go watch this game on the sideline. But J.J. McCarthy, he has to be the guy for them. There are no questions about that moving forward.
Yeah, the question on the screen there, what questions were answered? There were 2. It was about Herbert, and he's great. It was about the Vikings, and they're in trouble. And, Peter, I'm going to give you credit. Going back to the beginning of the season, you were talking about all the pressure on McCarthy and on Kevin O'Connell for the decision they made to let Sam Darnold walk away in the offseason and Daniel Jones and turn it over to the rookie. Now he's hurt, and now they look like something of a mess.
And general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, this is such a decision. They didn't expect Sam Darnold to play last year. It was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy, and Darnold was almost supposed to play the Carson Wentz role as just a veteran backup. He goes 14-3. They don't franchise tag him. They don't sign him to an extension. They let him walk. And then, oh, by the way, at the trade deadline, they got Daniel Jones last year, too. Oh, and I'll throw another one in. Aaron Rodgers might have been very interested in this role, too, for a one-year deal as J.J. McCarthy was there. They said, screw it, we're going with Sam Howell. Well, then they trade Sam Howell, and they bring in Carson Wentz. Look, if you watched Wentz under duress last night, you know why they didn't play McCarthy. That offensive line was atrocious. They couldn't block anything. It's almost like they've been putting him in bubble wrap and just waiting to get him fully healthy. That said, you don't want the season to slip away. So much pressure on J.J. McCarthy right now. He hasn't even taken snaps, and already he's expected to match Drake May, but also be better than Darnold and Daniel Jones, which is almost an impossible mountain to climb.
Vikings feel like they're in some trouble here. The division is really good. The Packers have the big game Sunday night, but they're obviously good. The Lions are great. The Bears seem to be on the come-up. Vikings in some trouble here?
Yeah, they are. Last night was a must-win, in my opinion, for the Vikings. Before last night, every team in that division was either 500 or better. The team that was 500 was the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at the Bears, you look at the Lions, you look at the Packers, and where everyone else is in that division, you say to yourself, man, we thought the Vikings were going to be a better football team. But I will say this, when it comes to the quarterback position, I agree with you, J-Mac. This is J.J. McCarthy's team, and I don't think we have enough of a sample size to decipher if it was a bad move by the ownership and also the general manager and Kevin O'Connell. J.J. McCarthy's only played 2 games, y'all.
Right.
He's only played 2 games. He's
in 2 years, though.
That's the problem.
But let me say this, though. The bigger problem, in my opinion, for Minnesota is that damn offensive line. When you have the left tackle, right tackle, center, everyone hurt, you look at last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz was running for his life. They didn't get home to have 5 sacks, but last night, guess who did?
They got home.
The Los Angeles Chargers. And that offensive line was the biggest glaring thing that I feel like they need to fix right now.
Well, Carson Wentz out there looking like Winter Soldier when you look at his left arm. You look at all the bandages and all the braces that he has on. But we knew that this was something that was going to be an issue. We thought that this was a Super Bowl caliber roster. They went out and they put the money to push all their chips into the middle when they brought in Hargrave, Allen, Kelly, and Freeze. We thought they were pushing all their chips to the middle. And for them not to make sure that they had a good quarterback or a good backup, it's malpractice, in my opinion, knowing that you're going to push all your chips. That's a lot to put on anybody, let alone a rookie. So I think they're wasting away Jordan Jefferson in his prime and Addison's going to be up for free agency in a minute. He's going to be somebody that people want to get. This window was open for them, and they closed it themselves by putting all their faith in a rookie quarterback.
But to your point, though, they didn't expect this offensive line to be this atrocious.
Right.
Like, remember, they made some acquisitions this offseason. We thought this offensive line was going to be a top 5 unit in the NFL coming into the season, but guys have gotten hurt.
But you need
it's been different.
But you need a quarterback that when people go down, they can hold the ship up. You can't put that on a rookie quarterback. Basically, is what he is. We don't know what he is because he hasn't been able to be healthy, been able to be available. So coming off an injury, they should have made sure they had some insurance and make sure they had a backup plan in case he wasn't healthy or wasn't ready.
On the flip side of this, Ronnie, can we put up A24, please, as I turn to Joe? The LA Chargers with a statement win. When healthy, they've been very good. They've been banged up, but look at their next 4 games. Look at the percent chance that they win those. Even 55 is a big number, by the way these analytics work. 75 is a ridiculous number.
They're 5-3. They got a chance to go on a run here, which isn't that far-fetched to say they could be 9-3 after that Raider game. Quarterback's playing at a high level, 30-1 to win MVP. His quarterback rating is better than Baker Mayfield's, better than Matthew Stafford's.
Yeah.
We gush over them repeatedly. This team, what's their flaw? Is it because they're bad when they lose, or is it because they're injured? Those are 2 very different things.
Right.
So if you're looking to bet on somebody right now, the Chargers are the team to buy on.
They haven't lost with Joe Alt in the lineup. They were 3-0. He went down. That is such a big piece. When you get that guy back on the field and you can actually give Herbert time to breathe, they are a force to be reckoned with.
And Khalil Mack is back, and that solidified the edges of their defense. And I think if they make one of those trades, they need to make a trade for a guy like Breece Hall to keep him away from Kansas City as well, but also improve their team. A guy on an expiring contract would take Justin Herbert to the next level.
A big explosive game last week. He catches the huge touchdown at the very end, finishes the game. Then all of a sudden, Wednesday and Thursday, he's not practicing with a hamstring. Yeah. What's going on?
With a curious Instagram post after a first big game. So there's a lot of people putting together like True Detective, like, okay, what's going on here? I'm told it's a real injury, and he's just resting it, and there's still a very good chance he plays Sunday against the Giants. We'll track practice here. You start looking ahead, though, and I know there's been a lot of talk about the trade deadline, and if you Google any article, A.J. Brown's the first name. I would just say this. Knowing Howie Roseman, as well as I know Howie Roseman, Eagles are usually a team that looks to acquire assets, not ship them off. I don't get the feeling that A.J. Brown is necessarily going to be traded. I would say this, though. There will be teams who will be calling leading up to that deadline. This would be a huge asset for a lot of squads. Hamstring, I'm only taking them on their word. They're saying it's an injury. Let's see on Sunday at kickoff if he's on the field or not.
An important point to make here, and Joe just ran through how much they've struggled running the football this year. They've gotten almost nothing out of the running game that was one of the best in the history of the sport last year. And we were talking this morning over breakfast. A.J. Brown's numbers last week look very good. And obviously, the 2 touchdowns speak for themselves. But they still weren't really featuring him in the offense the way we assume he wants.
Yeah, only 2 plays, in my opinion, where they actually feature A.J. Brown. It was the sluggo at the end of the game on 3rd and 9. He caught that one, and also the outside post that he caught for a touchdown. You look at the very first touchdown, Greeny, it was more of a scramble drill. Jalen Hurts saying, hey, go deep, A.J. Brown, I'm going to throw it to you. And then it was a 3rd and 15 where Jalen Hurts scrambled to the right side of the sidelines and then threw it to A.J. Brown as well. So only 2 plays or 2 of his catches, I would say, were really distinguished to throw the ball to A.J. Brown. That might mean something in my opinion.
So, J-Mac, I found myself, as I was watching that game, thinking, does this have to be the recipe? Like, Jalen Hurts played great.
Yeah.
And they actually have put more on his plate. Hembo gave me a stat earlier this week as far as percentage of the offense for a team. Jalen Hurts is right now #1 in the entire league. They're counting on him for a greater percentage of their offense than any other team is counting on their quarterback, which is the last thing you usually expect with him.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the recipe if this team is going to repeat? Is it going to be because they throw the ball and not run it?
It has to be. You're watching, and Joe just hit on it. They can't run the ball right now, and it's not just because Saquon Barkley has taken a step back or anything of that nature. They're not blocking as well, so there is no area, and there's no room to run in that area. So they're going to have to throw the ball more, and I think as we talk about A.J. Brown and the trade deadline and all of those things, you have to start to question whether the marriage of him and Jalen Hurts, whether it works. And it was a great ride. You could have won a Super Bowl, and it may be time where you're looking at these two guys, and maybe they don't have the relationship that you need to continue to prosper and make plays down the field and all that. So, Schrager, I think to your point, yes, Howie has always acquired talent. If his hamstring is really hurt, that's one thing. If he's not, there's a lot going on that you start to question and say, hey, if it's not going to work, you try to
Greeny
get something
said
out of
it. It doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah. Right.
And that's fair to question. And
Yeah.
Eagles people might look at us watching it right now and text me and say, what are you doing starting this? Guys, it doesn't pass the smell test, and that's fair to say.
Greeny, I struggled with this one all season long through 7 games, but after watching last week, I said, okay, I have to stop being boneheaded. Every single season is different. And what the Philadelphia Eagles did last year through the run game doesn't have any bearing on 2025. I do believe they have to play through the pass game like J-Mac just mentioned.
The problem is you watch them throwing those moon balls. That's not sustainable. It was moon ball after moon ball, and sometimes it works, and then everyone says, hey, Hurts looks fantastic. And then other times when the moon ball isn't there, he's not going over the middle. You need more depth and variety to the passing game.
I agree with that.
Any other picks that we should know about here? As we put the picks up on the screen,
You always have.
So this is a bit odd because we just trashed the passing game, but I'd lay the 7.5 with Philadelphia here in a quick roundabout. Go back to 2000. This is an interesting spot. These two are meeting for the second time in 3 weeks. When you see that happen, the team that lost the first game covers the spread over 60% of the time the next time out because they make the adjustments where the winning team just assumes they can come out and do the exact same thing.
Suddenly surging Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott hoping to finally get a win against the Broncos on Sunday. That's one of 2 teams he hasn't beaten in his 10-year career, and he is riding high. He's got a 4-game streak of at least 3 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And we were talking about this one this morning, Harry. You were saying there's one particular key for the Cowboys if they're going to get this win in Denver.
You must have a fast start. What does that allow you to do? Remain balanced on offense. Why is that important in this matchup? Who is the team that sacks the quarterback the most in the National Football League? The Denver Broncos. The last thing that you want to do is be one-dimensional versus that defense and that pass rush. So continue to be balanced, have that fast start, and I think the Dallas Cowboys will be okay.
I listen to Harry, and yes, that's all the right stuff, but you're a former wide receiver. This is going to be one of the best matchups when you talk about CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. On the other side, Pat Surtain, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, and Riley Moss on the other side. I want to see receivers and DBs. I want to see a fight. I want to see these guys jawing at each other after the play, much like when I used to lock Harry down in practice when we were
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I slapped him a few times. We made up.
It is an extraordinary matchup, and if Randy Moss says the Cowboys wideouts could be the best duo in the entire NFL, it makes you sit up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, those guys are ridiculously good, and the quarterback is playing at a ridiculously high level. And then there's the quarterback on the other side, Peter, that you have your eye on.
I'm fascinated by Bo Nix here because for the first 3 quarters of the first 55 minutes of that game against the Giants, Bo Nix did not look like he belonged on the same field as Jackson Dart. And then he comes alive and makes some big plays. Sean Payton, a very toxic week, obviously, with the Russell Wilson tweet. I think that was an unintended storyline they weren't expecting for. He says that he was not throwing shade on.
Get him, Russ.
I'll tell you, though, Bo Nix, this is a guy who made the big plays when they wanted him to, but you'd like to see him make the leap. This is a true test. Bo Nix versus Dak Prescott. As much as we want to talk about the wide receivers in the corners, Bo Nix, are you that guy? Let's see you go toe-for-toe with Dak because Dak is going to bring it. We know that.
I'm with you because the Broncos are a team people are talking about. Are they going to make a run at Kansas City? You're right. They were ridiculously fortunate, to say the least, to win the game last week. And then there were the Cowboys. They've been unbelievably good at home. They've been much less explosive on the road. They've lost some games that leave you scratching your head. Here are the splits. They're ridiculous. They lead the league in yards per game and points per game when they play at home. You see the enormous drop-offs on the road. My question is, I get that it's an offensive lead, but is that offense good enough to carry this team, J-Mag? If the Eagles open the door a crack, the Commanders look like they're taking a step back. The Giants they're better, but they're not taking. if the door is going to open, it could be for the Cowboys. Are they good enough to step through it?
I believe so. The way Dak Prescott is playing right now, it's hard to believe that they can't do it. Now, yes, you just showed that. Do they play better on the road? Absolutely. But now having CeeDee Lamb back healthy, having him and George Pickens on the outside, and then Javonte Williams, he's been the guy in free agency they picked up that has been an absolute stud. And you mentioned the offense carrying him. To me, watching him last week against the Commanders was a step in the right direction because the defense played a lot better.
Put the picks up on the screen as Joe, we hear from you again. Cowboys, Denver this weekend. Fascinating game.
I have to make smart financial decisions. I did not make defensive back money or third-string wide receiver money. I have to. Yeah, you saw how I slipped
Now
down
wide receiver three.
Yeah.
Third string.
Joe.
Okay.
Peter, we don't need He does not feel bad. He was owed that from yesterday. That said, how are you going to take hard-earned Hall of Fame radio host money and put it on a defense that can't stop anybody on the road? Defense at home has crowd noise.
Yeah.
You go into this situation, you don't get stops, you play from behind. Denver's defense knows you're throwing. They're going to pin their ears back and be all over Prescott. We're playing the Broncos here.
I think this is a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys.
Really?
It's a must-win because if
Out of
you
division, out of conference?
Yeah, but you want to take that next step, right? And you see the way Philadelphia and still friction there with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, that whole nine. The Commanders are plummeting. They're going downhill. Quarterback's hurt. This is a prime opportunity versus a very quality opponent in the Denver Broncos on a big stage for the Dallas Cowboys to make a huge statement.
Leave that up, Hembo. I want you to see that your buddy Hembo has your back.
40
You see
games.
that? 40 games. That's a lot of stuff.
Hey, can we ask producers for the footage of what year was it with the Titans you guys were on? 2012? What with
They all run
I'm sure there's a long NFL film
like 2.5
library
seasons.
of that.
It's like 2.5
I'm
seasons.
struggling to
It's not that
realize
big
what
enough.
year it is right now.
40's not enough for you?
2.5 seasons. Average NFL career over 3 seasons. That's 2.5 seasons.